Would you consider yourself a high-level entrepreneur? Now, most likely, if you're listening to this, you definitely are. And what I've heard over and over and over again is it's hard to find like-minded people that are like that too. Again, I'm from Maine, so I totally understand how difficult it can be. Thank goodness I have an amazing online community, so I know tons of them. And that is exactly why we are starting this brand new mastermind group with high-level, like-minded entrepreneurs, the ones that you know you can go alongside with that will help move you to the next level, let alone with kick butt coaching from me, because I like to slap you around, both on focus and on strategy. So if you're looking to double or triple this year, which I know most of you are, I want you to go ahead and apply and see if it's a good fit for you. I will totally tell you if it's not and if I wouldn't do it if I were you. But go to eventualmillionaire.com/apply. We are looking for amazing, like-minded entrepreneurs. My previous mastermind members have told me it is life changing. So take the time today, fill out the very quick application, and we'll see if it's a fit. Take care.
Potent advice and inspiration from real self-made millionaires. Welcome to the Eventual Millionaire with your host, Jaime Masters.
Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jaime Masters, and today I am so excited to have Rhonda Britten on the show. Now, I used to watch her show starting over a ridiculously long time ago and be enamored. She's done over 600 episodes of reality TV. She's been a repeat guest on Oprah. She's insane and amazing and runs fearlessliving.org. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure, Jaime. And I'm so happy you watched Starting Over, because really, I always say to myself that the reason I took that show, because I had the first life coach reality show in London, and then I got like 5 offers in the United States. And the reason I said yes to Starting Over is that I wanted to be the first life coach on television in the United States, so people would have a template for what a coach really should be doing and who a coach should be. And as we know, there was no coaches then, and there's millions of coaches now.
So you did your job. No. And so
my job.
Well, and I did think life coaching was cheesy before I started watching that show. So I was like, hey, who needs that, right? Like back in the day, I thought therapy was crazy. I've changed my ways big time. But when we looked at what you actually did.
You've come to the dark side, Jaime.
Right. I love it here.
Dark side. Now you do what you used to mock.
Yes, which I'm so grateful for, right? But tell me how you even got in the position where people were coming to you for TV. Because I know, especially in the Instagram days, everybody wants their own reality TV show. And I'm sure it's different now than it was then. But tell me your story on how you got it.
Well, it was actually over in London on a book tour for Fearless Living, my first book. I had book tours throughout the United States, England, Scotland, Ireland, and Australia. And I was over in London. And as you know, reality television came from England. That's who really created reality television show. But at the time, there was no reality shows for good. There was no reality shows with therapists or life coaches or anything like that. So when I was over there, my publicist goes, Rhonda, there's a production company that would like to create a reality show with a life coach or therapist, and they've been auditioning for 9 months, and they can't seem to find anybody. They've auditioned everyone here in the United States. There's nobody. And since you're here, would you like to audition? And I was like, oh, yes. Oh, why, yes, I would. And so I went in, and, I'm not afraid of the camera. I was an actress when I was younger, and so I'm not afraid of the camera. I'm confident in my coaching. And so they brought this 23-year-old girl in about dating. And, they had a camera in my face, and the girl's like, I would like to date. And I just, boom, went to town. 3 weeks later, I was living in London. So I lived in London for 2 years, did 2 seasons of Help Me, Rhonda.
And then called Help Me, Rhonda. I love that.
Yeah, Rhonda. And then after the second year of Help Me, Rhonda, I always came back to the States after my season. So the month I got back, they were auditioning for Starting Over. And so I audition only for callbacks. And so I'm meeting the executive producer, like, we want the show to go A, B, and C. I go, yeah, no, that's not how. I've been doing this. I'm actually the only person in the world who's actually done this. And that's not what's going to happen. So I remember thinking to myself, if they're brave, they'll hire me for Starting Over. But if they want full control, they won't hire me, because I knew more than they did.
So then you should, but yes.
Yes, as I should. And I was the only one that ever produced television, changing lives. And sadly, today, reality television now is more scripted, because talent and production don't know how to work together. And so a lot of talent is frustrated because I always said, I'm not here to play a life coach. I'm actually going to change their lives. I'm actually going to do it. Right. So I needed a lot of bandwidth. We were not scripted, and it was a fantastic time.
Do you think that now there's more opportunities for that stuff or less? Like, especially nowadays where people can have full control over their own shows, but maybe not have the funds, right? Or there's a lot more reality shows people are watching, but like you said, there's all sort of politics behind all that. Do you still think it's a better stage?
Well, there's two things. One, reality television for a production company, you just have to understand how to work with a producer. And most coaches don't. And they're intimidated by production because they've never done it before. And they're just happy, like, oh my God, thank you for hiring me. You know, so they don't actually understand how to work with production. I always tell all my friends before they go to an audition, I go, please talk to me first so I can coach you through this, because I can help you get a TV show because I know how to do that. So that's one thing. I mean, talent does not know how to work with production. And that is the number one stumbling block to make great TV for reality, for life coaches, et cetera, therapists. The second thing is that you asked, like, what if I was going to start over right now, like this moment today, and saying to myself, I'm on Instagram, I want my own TV show. What I would be doing is creating my own YouTube channel, right? I'd be videotaping myself and creating it live, because then TV will come to you. You know, so, you know, just do good work and videotape yourself doing it and start your own channel. I do have a little tiny little thing, like when people say, this is my TV station, I'm like, no, it's not a TV station. It's a YouTube channel. Okay. I actually did TV 600 episodes, but you're actually doing YouTube. That's a whole different ball game.
Not the same.
TV, okay. Just saying, but I understand why they do it.
So do you have any tips? Because it's funny now with Brene Brown being on Netflix and everything, everyone's like, ooh, now there's opportunities. We could do all these different things.
Remember, she's doing a keynote. She's doing a speech on Netflix. So that's a whole different deal. So people just see the external, oh, Brene Brown's on, you know, Netflix, right? They don't understand what went into that. And they also don't understand that what forum it is, right? All they see is television. So if you want to, first of all, if you're so focused on being famous, then I would say your values are in the wrong place. Not that fame isn't a good thing to pursue, i.e. in the quest of more people wanting to see you, right? Wanting to hear your message. So Brene Brown didn't say, I want to be famous when she did her TEDx talk, right? What she said is, I want to spread my message. I did not go and audition for TV and have 3 TV shows go, I want to be famous. That wasn't even a thought in my brain. I just wanted to change people's lives and have as many people watch me as possible so that they knew it was possible, right? So they knew it was possible. Right. So I think people, when they're just focused on fame, I understand you want to reach your message, but I think if you're focused on fame, your values are going to come back to bite you in the butt later on.
Yeah. Because what are you doing to sacrifice just for that one thing instead of the impact that you actually want to be making?
Yeah. I mean, people used to ask me all the time, Jaime, or tell me all the time when I was on TV every day, I want to be like you. I want to have a TV show. And I'd be like, do you understand what it takes to actually do a TV show? I work 6 days a week, 12 to 15 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, people see the external results, but they don't understand what it actually takes to make great TV. It's work, it's effort. So if you see a great YouTube channel, that takes effort, that takes work.
See, I remember my friends had gotten a couple pilot episodes for like Discovery Channel and stuff like that. They got paid squat to do them. It took forever. You know what I mean? I was looking at the back end going, they are much better business opportunities than this out there right now, anyway.
Right. Well, absolutely. I mean, back then when I was on Starting Over, there was no YouTube, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no social media, right? So, we had a forum, so to speak, through the TV station, right? But there was nothing that exists today. So, again, you have to want to do TV for the love of it, and you have to have a back end, so to speak, but TV productions companies are not set up to make you money.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. When's the right time for an actual business person, right, to go after TV? Because you don't also make that much money, at least the numbers that I've heard back from. And it's like, so you still have to have your business and you're working a lot more. So it doesn't even make logical sense for a lot of things.
Well, I mean, I still had my business. I still had my business and I was on TV every day. So, I mean, I think TV this is how I see it. TV comes to you. And if you're doing good work and you're on YouTube, Facebook Lives, if you're showing yourself up in video, you're having a good message, TV production companies are always looking, and not only TV production companies, but products. I did a lot of, and I just did one actually. I just filmed one in Brooklyn and Chicago. It's starting to air on people.com this month. I just did a series of 3 video, whatever they call them now, right? 4-minute video slots for people.com and Total Wireless. So, they come to you, so again, you got to put yourself in the right place. Again, back then there was no video, right? I didn't even have a YouTube. But now if I was going to do TV or wanted to do TV, I'd be doing YouTube and I'd get really good at it.
See, and I feel like I've been approached for a reality show, for 2 reality shows, and I did not like the premise at all. And I felt like I would be portrayed in a not the best light, right? Where the control thing I have issues with. So to me, I was like, I'm not even going to go, even though I was really excited for a really long time. And then I realized it wasn't what I wanted my message to be. So do you feel like it's harder to align your message and somebody else's message, even when somebody comes to you?
That is, again, an ability to speak and negotiate with a production company. Ooh. And so, like I said, most talent, and that would be you as a talent, right? They come to you because they go, we want to do this show. And you're like, this is what I always say when people approach me. I go, sounds good, right? Like, wow, sounds good. Let's keep talking. So I never say no when I hear a premise, because I know that that's what they think is going to work.
Ooh, you're so good. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to tell you what you actually want.
Like 600 episodes. Like, I've done more TV than anyone. I've done more TV than Jennifer Aniston. So let's put that in perspective, right? She did 10 seasons of Friends, and they did 22 to 26 episodes. So they did at most 260 episodes of television. I've done 600. Okay. So first of all, call me next time if anybody approaches
Apparently,
you.
Geez.
But it's really about being able to talk from a perspective of knowledge and confidence about what's going to work and what's not going to work. A lot of production companies actually don't know how to produce reality shows that include a life coach. They know how to do a reality show with scripts, right? And I could name a whole bunch of shows right now that are scripted that people think are reality. And my niece is always like, don't tell me, Auntie Rhonda, don't tell me. And I'm like, well, that's scripted right there. But if you want to be unscripted, like I never had a script. Because again, I actually want to change their lives. You've got to know how to talk to that production company in order to make them wake up and see the roses,
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the actual content side and YouTube and what you would do in regards to that, because I feel like there's a million YouTube shows, especially in business or life coaching right now. What do you think going up and trying to have a USP or something that is completely different? Do you think you have to go and make a big splash and have crazy production? Like, what would you do on the YouTube side of things if you were just starting?
Well, it depends on the amount of money. Like you said, crazy production. If I had, $20 million and I was going to create a YouTube channel that's going to kick butt, yeah, I'd go out and hire my friend who produces reality television show. I'd have a 2 to 3 camera setup. I'd have multiple audios, and I'd have 2 to 4 people that I was working with, right? So, if I had $20 million or $10 million, or I wanted to devote all my $1 million to do that. That is what I would do if I really wanted to make amazing television. Now, there's production companies out there that actually now specialize in YouTube shows. Okay. Like my friend just created a 10-part series, I want to say it was Facebook. So there are production companies like my friend Tracy who specialize in those 10, 12, 5 episode, really top notch. Again, could maybe cost you $10,000, maybe cost you 20, maybe cost you 5 if you're friends with Tracy, right? So it depends on the amount of money you have. So if you don't have the money and you're sitting there going, yes, but I just want to get my message out. I don't care about fame. I just want more people to hear my message. Then get your butt some good lighting. Hire a friend of yours or somebody that knows how to do lighting. Get a place set up so that you know about lighting, because lighting is the key and audio is the key. And then start shooting. And you can shoot while you're walking down the street. You can shoot in the same location every week. But your job is to make it not only meaningful, but entertaining, right? It has to wake people up, because that's how you get, people say to me, Rhonda, you just made me think. And it's like, yes, that's my job. My job is to change your life. And when people would approach me in Target or wherever I was, they'd say, "Oh my God, you're changing my life." I'd always say, "How? How am I changing your life? What have you done?" Because I'm coaching on TV, but what is moving you? And that always, that's what I wanted. I wanted to not only move the people that I was actually coaching on TV, but my real goal was to coach the 3 million a day 3 million people watching me a day. Right.
Well, I was one of them going, "Oh, life coaching isn't cheesy. Wait, I might actually pay more attention to this stuff." Right. Because it does make a difference, right? Shifting perspective, even though I'm stubborn and it probably took me way longer than most people. It took me a really long time, but it was that consistent showing up and showing up. But I also, because you were entertaining, like you said, do you have any tips though on being entertaining? Because that's the other piece in YouTube. It's like some people are over the top entertaining crazy and a little less content. Like how do we manage that?
I always say the number one thing to do if you want to get to become better on stage, on camera, on podcasts, is to go and do improv. Yeah, thank you. Is to do improv.
I got it.
Yeah, and not just one class, but just do improv. Stand-up comedy is not the same as improv. Stand-up comedy, I've been seeing a whole rash of people doing. I'm doing stand-up. I did stand-up years ago. I did improv years ago. I did years and years of improv. I belonged to improv teams, and I belonged to, I did stand up for a Comedy Store, et cetera, Laugh Factory, et cetera. So, but that was years ago. I don't do it now. Right. And so stand up is completely different than improv. It's a completely different medium, and they teach completely different things. But I always tell people, because they say, "I want to do what you did." I just gave a speech this past year, and Laura Belgray, who's amazing, said to me when she saw me speak, she goes, "I want to do what you do." And I go, "That's improv." Because I'm not afraid of how I look. I'm not afraid what my body does. I'm not afraid what my face does. I am completely immersed in the message, and that message moves my body, moves me, right? I'm not thinking, "Move now." That's not what I'm thinking. Improv makes it in your body so that when you are speaking, you are naturally more animated and more alive. And that's what is attractive, is you being alive, right?
I love you embracing that also. My former husband used to be in an improv group, and I've done a few improv classes, and it's really fun. But I am extremely animated in life in general. And so I had always, when I was younger, trying to tone it down. And it's funny how many people are like, no, you're trying to make it bigger. And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to know how big this goes," right? Like, it might be a little bit much, right? Just even with facial expressions, right? So how did you get comfortable?
Yeah, but there's no too much if you're authentic.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes.
If you're paying attention and actually thinking, "I'm too big," then you're not present your message, right?
Yep.
So you do the craft over here of improv. You do the craft. Again, improv is going to give you different skills than stand-up. And I actually encourage improv, because improv is going to make your body attached to your emotional life. You're going to become one instrument. Okay. Stand-up doesn't do that. Improv does that. Your body becomes an instrument for your message. So if you're thinking about it, or if you're deciding, "Am I too big? Am I too small? Am I this? Am I that?" You actually have left the message behind, and you're now using your awareness to actually criticize yourself or to judge yourself, rather than being alive with the message. So when I first started speaking, Marianne Williamson, who is all over the place. Marianne Williamson, I used to study with her years ago, and she's this amazing speaker. And I remember when I first started speaking, I thought, "Oh my God, I can't be like Marianne. I'll never be able to speak," right? Like, she's so amazing. And I remember thinking that I thought speaking was like, "Hi, my name is Rhonda Britten. Look at my book. I am amazing. Here, let me read from it," right? And when I surrendered to be fully authentic, then I showed up, like moving my body and getting in front of people. And that's me. That's not me pretending. That's me. Yeah. And in actuality, what improv did, the reason I didn't keep doing improv, is I am funnier naturally than giving a joke.
That makes sense.
Right?
And you're so well practiced, so it just sort of comes naturally anyway, instead of trying to do it with more intention. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, I don't even think of myself as practice, because this is the way it's been. But yes, I mean, practice in the sense of I've done improv for years. You can say that, right? That I am comfortable in my body, and I'm comfortable. I'm not worried about how I show up. I don't care if my hair's messy. I don't care if I make a weird face. I don't care if my body goes over here and I go over. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. All I care about is, am I being authentic to message, and am I sharing my message as passionately and present and as present as I can?
How do you do that in just front of a camera? So with people, I can do it with people. In a camera situation, it is like totally different. Do you have any tips on that?
Yes. What I really encourage you to do. Okay. So they have these, so I'm going to say a couple things. One, if you're first starting doing this and you want to become more natural in front of the camera and you're alone, then ask a friend to actually stand by the camera and do this.
That would help. Oh my gosh, so much.
Right? That totally help, right? Totally help. The other thing is that they actually have little camera covers, so to speak, that go around the cover. Dragons, dinosaurs, elephants, that you can actually put on your camera, and it can be who you're talking to.
That's hilarious.
So you want to be speaking to the person. I want you to imagine the person is behind that camera and you're actually speaking to them. You're actually, on the phone with them, or, they're calling you up on FaceTime and they're desperate for your message. And your job is to speak not at the camera, but through the camera, right? Speak through the camera. So you're speaking, out past the camera. Most people stop at the camera and that kind of thwarts the message. You actually want to speak through the camera. And it's going to tremendously help you get engaged, because you have to think there are 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, again, whatever you deem appropriate for you, that need your message right now. And they are in the camera right now. They are on the other side of the camera, and you need to make sure they hear you,
So that message, I just want to highlight that again, speaking through the camera. I used to do martial arts, and they used to talk about a punch needs to go through the person, not stop at the person. It's the exact same thing. And it was a game changer for me, because I was like, I don't want to hurt anybody. Right. So stopping, I'm probably doing that same thing. I'm probably stopping right at the camera. So I so appreciate you saying that. I want to chat a little bit, because this is sort of your thing, about fearless living, because that's your thing, right? Tell us a little bit about what that is and how people can really get past, because fear is common for absolutely everyone.
Fear is at the heart of every problem that you have. And yes, some people, yes, people need skills. Of course they do. And they need tools. Yes, they do. But the reason they don't have the skills or the tools is because they're afraid. Now, I want to just say this, most of my life, I did not say I'm afraid or I'm scared. I did not walk around saying I'm afraid or I'm scared. So most people aren't even awake to that they're afraid or they're scared. What they are awake to is the problems that are showing up in their life. Procrastination, perfectionism, overwhelm, anxiety, stress, right? And comparing, competing, right? I could go on, right? I could go on and on, right? So people are aware of what they're doing wrong, right? Or in their mind, they label it wrong or bad, or I shouldn't, or what's my problem? I shouldn't be like that. So everyone's aware of their problem. Well, what that problem is in the world of fearless living is a fear response. That's all it is. It's a fear response. So if you're procrastinating, there's fear under there. If you're a perfectionist, there's fear under there. If you're overwhelmed, there's fear under there, right? If you're anxious, there's fear under there. If you're comparing, there's fear under there. So if you compete, i.e., there's fear under there. So most courses, most coaches, really focus on the problem, and that's marketing, right? We focus on, I'm going to now tell you your problem. You are a procrastinator. And most people, so they go to procrastination school and they learn how to not procrastinate, and it's like amazing. And they're like, it worked, it was amazing. Well, fear doesn't care if you procrastinate or you're a perfectionist. It doesn't give a crap. So if you stop your procrastination, fear will just create another problem, because it does not care what problem or what fear response you have. It only wants to stop you from actually taking risks. Taking risks is poison to fear, because fear only has one job and one job only, and that's to keep you safe. And the way it keeps you safe is by keeping you the same. And that's why we end up having the same problems with just a different phase, the same problem with a different situation, but it's really the same problem, because we're really not dealing with the root of it. We're actually dealing with just the problem. And we think the problem is the problem, but it's not. It's just the cover. So, fear is at the heart of everything. And, I remember one of my coaches, certified fearless living coaches, I train coaches. One of my certified fearless living coaches became a business coach. And she said to me, well, Rhonda, I now don't do fearless living. I don't do life coaching. I do business coaching. Right. And I'm like, awesome. Great. Knock it out. Right. And then, a few months later, she came to me and said, business coaching is life coaching.
Same. Yep.
As you're always dealing with their life. I'm like, oh yeah, a business problem is actually a life problem. Yes. That's it. I mean, so when people come to me with a business problem, I know that's what they think the problem is, but what I actually know the problem is a life problem, i.e. a fear problem. So, if you want more power in your business, you don't feel powerful in your relationship, right? So there's people think the problem you think is there is a false problem. It's like a ghost. It's not actually the problem at all. And so in fearless living, I've created a method, a technology, methodology, whatever lovely word you want to use. They're all really hot right now, right? That actually helps you not only identify how fear works inside of you, and you think I guarantee you probably don't. And I'm not talking to you specifically, Jaime, right? I'm talking to your listeners. And what I believe is that there is a core fear that actually is driving all the other fears. So most of us think that we have all these problems and we have all these fears. It's not actually true. When you start understanding how fear works and you start identifying that core fear, and by the way, the core fear never changes. When you identify your core fear, then literally you see everything in action from that witness consciousness, and you can completely change it at will. It's taking your life back.
Okay, this sounds so sexy, which I so appreciate. And once you know what that core fear is, though, because therapy, right? So everybody's got fears. Nobody can be like, I am completely perfect all the time, right? So, and I work with high-level, amazing people, like you were saying, and you do too. And everybody's got something. That being said, once you've identified the core fear, how do you get rid of it if it's a core fear and it may or may not ever go away? Is it just being aware each time and it's different covers, or what do you do after that?
So awareness is obviously the first step. Without awareness, you cannot change, right? But the Wheel of Fear actually has 4 parts, and I actually educate people in how their Wheel of Fear works into all 4 parts. But more importantly, Jaime, I help them identify their Wheel of Freedom. And so what I do with people when they take my Fearless Living training program or when they attend Fearless Foundation workshops is I'll work with a private coach, one of my certified Fearless Living coaches. We not only identify the core fear, which will never go away, by the way. So anytime somebody says to you, get rid of your fear, the next question to ask them is, when's the lobotomy?
Right.
Because our neurobiology is created with fear. The way we operate, our amygdala, our hippocampus, et cetera, we can get into the brain, is structured for survival, i.e. safety. And your brain and body don't know the difference between an emotional fear and a physical fear. So you investing in your business could equal you jumping out of a plane, right? You starting to, think about making $1 million, right? Even though you're like, yes, I'm going to do it. But on the way there, you're going to have to confront your fear, because there is no way to go from 100,000 to 1 million without transforming who you are. It's impossible, right?
This is why business is both amazing and horrible, right? Because it's personal evolution to the nth degree.
Yeah. Well, in order to get any dream you have, whether it's $1 million, whether it's having a soulmate, whether it's losing weight, getting healthy, again, I don't care what your dream is. The reason you don't have it is, yes, you don't have the tools and skills. Yes, of course. You have probably some tools and skills are rusty, maybe. But at the heart of it is a fear. Now, some people say, oh, you don't feel worthy. I am like, please get over that worth thing. Like, if one more person says to me, you're not charging what you're worth, I want to go, really, 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 really. I'm just going to say this, Jaime, I'm going to give a little speech here for just 1 second. It's like when people say that you're not charging what you're worth, this is my answer to them. My parents died when I was 14 years old. I was the sole witness of their murder-suicide. I became an alcoholic. I got 3 DUIs. I, had 3 suicide attempts. I could go on and on and on from the place where I came from to the place I am now. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can pay me enough for what I went through. Nobody will ever pay me my worth, ever. Mm-hmm. As I was scraping in the ground, drinking myself silly, sleeping around, doing everything I did in order to get love, hide myself, and getting out of that place and crawling from the gut of the earth. No, you can never pay me enough. Never pay me enough. So when people are sitting there saying, oh, you don't feel worthy, it's like, that's not actually the issue. That is maybe the fear response, but it's actually not true. So I want to get beyond that. And I really want to support people and understand their fear. So anyway, just a little speech there, but the wheel of fear. And then I teach you about your wheel of freedom. And that wheel of freedom is that place that you've been hiding out. And I show you how to use your wheel of freedom so that you can access that for yourself. And then once you get caught, Jaime, anytime you get caught, you literally go, oh, my wheel of fear is activated. Got it. Got to move to my wheel of freedom. Boom. And that is highly effective. It's highly effective.
Okay. So I need to stop for just a second because yes, your story is insanity to think about how far anybody could come as a human. I feel like you're got that, right? Comparatively to absolutely everything else. And so the fact that you can really go, and I created this because out of necessity, number one, right? But number two,
completely out of necessity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what's so utterly amazing is that anybody going through anything, even not even close to what you are, you can be like, yeah, but I know it works on my hardcore stuff. So ready? But it's huge testimonial for everything that you've been through, which is amazing and inspiring. So when we look at the wheel of fear and the wheel of freedom, then, so is it literally just minding a gap of going, oh, all we have to do is just keep looking and focusing on the right thing? And that's it. Like in the moment?
Well, it's not even, yes, I would say that there's a truth to that. Mm-hmm. Yes. But focusing on the right thing is going to call up everything unlike itself, right? And so, my wheel of fear, I'll tell you mine, my wheel of fear, the core fear that I have at the heart of everything. And again, there's 4 parts. So I'm only sharing the main baby, right? Is loser, right? Now, did anybody ever call me loser? This is the other thing. People think they have a fear of failure or fear of rejection or fear of success. And it's like, not so much. Some people do, but not so much. It's kind of the language that's out in the world so people can grab onto it. But it's actually for most people, not really their true fear. It's a fear response. Like most people don't like to get rejected. That's mostly everybody's fear response, but it's not their core fear. So my core fear is loser. Now, I want to say one thing about it. I was never called a loser growing up. I was a straight A student. I was junior class president. I was soapbox derby queen, right? I sang in all. Now, mind you, I came from a little town this big. But nobody ever called me a loser. But that is when you really uncover it all. That is what shows up for me. The word loser, when I first identified it, it was like a knife stab in my heart, right? And it was like, no, right? And so our whole body responds to just even the energetic, the look. Nobody has to call me a loser, right? And I can feel it, right? Now, mind you, I've been doing this many years now, 24 years. So I don't get activated like I used to at all, right? So I don't care 99% of the time that somebody thinks I'm a loser, right? So loser is my core trigger. Now, my essential nature on my wheel of freedom is authentic. So I want you to put your head around this, Jaime. If I'm afraid of being a loser, do you think being authentic is a good idea? No, not at all. Because if I'm afraid that I'm really a loser, being authentic is a really, really bad idea. So when I say, yes, you're going to switch your focus, but that focus is going to create opportunities and openings for you to become who you're born to be, right? It is going to give you a pathway for you to evolve into the quote unquote best version of yourself, right? The most authentic version of yourself, the most accepting, most loving version of yourself, right? Because that's what I care about. I care about people accepting themselves, loving themselves. That's what I care about. And in that, they will be able to achieve their dreams. But achieving their dreams without that doesn't interest me.
Okay, so this is awesome. When we look back, though, what's funny is what you're talking about with the TV show is that being authentic and improv and being in your body is the most important thing. And yet you had the loser response too. Like when I speak on stage, I turn bright red, like weird, bright, looking like I break out in hives. So it stopped me for a really long time. I still do it now and I look crazy, but it would turn me in on myself. So I couldn't be authentic. I'd be like, oh, they're looking at me. They think I'm sick, right? And it's so hard. So how did you go from that loser mentality switched over to authenticity and then run like hell with it because you did 600 TV shows?
Well, the reason is I understood it. I understood the process, right? So everybody's essential nature is not authentic. Yours probably isn't authentic. Yours might be compassionate or loving. Again, everybody's unique and different. There is no two wheels alike. So, I have a process, obviously, to help people move through those so they can identify the correct thing, so that they can get the best wheels. But for me, authentic, I knew the payoff. The payoff was freedom. The payoff was self-acceptance. The payoff was peace of mind. So most people get caught in their feelings, right? They get caught in the pain. They get caught in the, oh my God, I'm turning red on stage, right? And that is what's driving them. I don't want to be red on stage, driving your previous behavior of like, I can't be on stage because I turn red. Then you turning red is actually deciding your future.
Right? Oh.
Right? So when you start putting in that perspective, people are like, what? I go, oh yeah, you turning red, is that going to decide your expression, your authenticity, your business model? Is that going to be the thing? So you can say when you're on your deathbed, well, it's because I didn't want to turn red. I didn't want to meet with the accountant and get embarrassed that I only made, $38,000 last year. I don't want to ask my spouse to invest $1,000 because I'm not, I haven't made enough money, so I shouldn't earn that. I don't get permission to do that, right? So people have husbands and wives and partners and spouses to blame things on, right? I don't have to do my thing because my husband, partner, spouse won't let me. They won't let me. They're holding me back. No, sweetheart. No, sweetheart. They're not holding you back. You are giving your power to somebody else. And it's scary to take your power back because to feel powerful can bring up selfish, mean, judgments, so it brings up a lot of things. And if you don't know how you work and if you don't know how it works, the brain, the wheel of fear, wheel of freedom, you will get caught in the effect of, I have a red face, therefore I can't get on stage. And that will feel really real to you. But as you and I both know, that's an illusion. That's just
really
the latest
excuse. No, it is, right?
It is. But, excuses. But Jamie, and I know you know this, excuses really feel real to people. That's the thing about excuses versus complaining. Excuses feel real. And there is a truth inside that excuse. So we must honor that excuse, but not be bound by that excuse, right? You can't minimize people's excuses. You can't blow excuses off. When people say, oh, just give up your excuses, I'm like, okay, no. I mean, you have to extricate yourself from that and you have to decide what's more important. But excuses have truth in them. That's why they're hard to give up. You do get red on stage. That is a fact. So having that as an excuse makes perfect sense.
It's valid. See, I can be like, yay. So in regards to that, though, because even if I'm aware that it's an excuse, right? Because even when I was, right, I was like, I know that's an excuse because I could go on stage. I just don't want to deal with the repercussions of it, right?
Well, what repercussions? You feeling uncomfortable because you turn red. So that's the key. You don't want to feel something, right?
Yep.
So anything going from 50,000 to 100,000, 100,000 to 500, 500 to a million, because I know you eventually millionaires out there, you are going to feel things. And those feelings, you have to become masterful at embracing and transcending your feelings. But you must embrace before you can transcend. And a lot of people do the spiritual bypass and just transcend it, but they actually don't. They just put in a box.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you.
so you can't do that because it's just going to come back to bite you. You're going to lose that million, basically. You're going to work really hard to get it, but trust me, you will lose it. I actually had a client. I speak at 8-figure masterminds, and I was at an 8-figure mastermind, 7, 8, 9 figures, everybody in the room. And this guy said to me, I said, whatever you want to talk about. And he said, well, I'm sick of making money and losing money. I make 10 million and lose it. I make 20 million and lose it. I am sick of losing it. Oh, by the way, my father lost it and my grandfather lost it. He goes, I don't want to be like them. And he thought I was going to give him this money strategy. And I said, well, you must forgive. You must forgive. And he's looking at me going, forgive? I go, yeah, if you don't want to lose any more money, you got to forgive your grandfather and your father and yourself. Because if you don't forgive, you will repeat the cycle. So people think that their solutions are strategies and tools, and which again, clearly those are valuable. But if you don't understand how you work, the mindset that you need, and how to operate in the world, inside yourself, you will consistently and regularly face the same fears and the same problems over and over again. They just will look better, look different, have a different face, but they will come to haunt you because that is what is successfully been used to keep you stuck.
I love this talk. I could talk about this forever. Okay, I have another question in regards to that before I ask the last question. So when we think about getting outside of your comfort zone or really looking to the wheel of freedom instead of the wheel of fear, right? When we're looking at that, it seems to take energy though, right? Even just the awareness part. So how fast can you go? I even know the feeling of that letting go where I'm like, ooh, I am in uncharted territories, but I don't want to do that all the time because that feels so energetic, especially with all the other responsibilities.
Well, it's almost like, first of all, it takes energy, yes, and it takes effort because you're waking up. So feelings, I always say feelings are energy. That's all they are. And the reason it takes so much effort is your level of attachment to them.
Ooh, okay.
So once you start seeing the benefit and the power of the wheel of freedom and accessing your essential nature, and you start rolling there, you will start seeing the benefit and the energy release in a powerful, positive way. Mm-hmm. That the effort, the slowing down, I always say slow is the new fast. You have to go slow in order to move fast because you have to be awake to see it, and then you can shift it. But if you don't go slow, you're going to miss it, right? So yes, it takes energy, but the energy is the level of attachment to it. And effort that you're using, and oh, by the way, your brain, the way that we're wired, our brain, the number one goal of our brain is to save energy. Number one goal of our brain. So our fear neurobiology, our fear mechanism inside of ourselves, its number one goal is to keep you safe. Brain's number one goal is to save you energy. So that's why it feels hard to think differently. It feels hard to go from 100,000 to 200,000, right? It feels hard because you're using energy and your brain is like, we need to conserve energy. We're going to die, right? And it's like, no, I'm not going to die. And I'm going to expand. Well, yeah, but come on now, right? So you're actually rewiring your brain when you move from the wheel of fear and wheel of freedom. And yes, that is going to take effort in the beginning until you start seeing and experiencing the benefits. And of course, my program, obviously, I create all these tools around you so that you're taken care of and you can see it faster, et cetera, right? But yeah, it takes effort, it takes energy, and you've got to decide, do you want to live in freedom or do you want to live in fear? What's the payoff you want? So yeah, you got to slow down. Oh, well, so what?
Really appreciate the slow down part though, because especially me, I move so fast that when you say that, I'm like, well, now I just have to not only move that fast, but do it with harderness in my brain. And that sounds like that sucks. But if you slow it down and that way I can actually be more cognizant over the small things, then you tweak the small things and then you can have momentum.
Yeah. It's like, you're not going to be thoughtless. right?
Never.
Right. But that's what makes us move fast, because we're thoughtless. And also because we're on automatic pilot, i.e. because we're trying to save energy. Remember, our brain wants us to go on automatic pilot. It wants us to do that to save energy. Our brain doesn't want us to think, because that takes more glucose. It takes more energy. It's probably why we have comfort foods, as sugar, carbs, etc., because it actually needs energy, right? Now, I'm not giving you permission to go and eat a right? But what I am telling you is helping you understand that there is a level, becoming more aware is where freedom lies. It's the only place it lies. But also to start experiencing that, your pathway is compassion and innocence and understanding and forgiveness. Because as you become awake, you will look at your past and go, oh my God, I wish I would have known this then. And the minute you say, I wish I would have known this then, you've lost compassion, right? You've lost innocence. You're thinking, you should know what you know now back then. And that's just not the way it was. So, when you are slowing down, what you're actually doing is actually giving yourself heart, compassion, innocence, space, and actually to love yourself more. And in fact, when you slow down, you will get better results, because you won't have to clean up the mess you made going fast.
All the business owners need to hear that right now, just so let put that on pause and do a little repeat on that, because we assume it just has to be faster in order to make more progress. And I love you actually saying how it really benefits both men and women, by the way, guys, that are like, feelings, whatever, put them over there, right?
No.
It makes a huge difference. Okay. I know I have to start wrapping up. I want to have you back on, because I love all of these conversations that we have, and you already know I love you. But what's one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of 1 million?
That's the first thing that I want you to do. And this is the first exercise I did at the age of when I first started after my third suicide attempt, and I realized the way I was trying to move through life is not working for me. So the first thing I did is I grabbed a calendar. And I said, how am I going to change my life? Because all the therapy workshops, books I read were nice, but they didn't change me fundamentally. And so I got a calendar and I got some gold stars. And I started giving gold stars to myself. And I still have the calendar. It's actually in my office. And I'm like, when I found it, I was like, And I started giving myself a gold star for any time that I had a new awareness or shifted my behavior. And because back then I, suicidal all the time, and I actually felt like I should die, like I didn't have any worth or value. And so I remember after the 30 days saying to myself, I have hope. There's hope here. So what that exercise has turned into now in Fearless Living is something I call acknowledgements. And it's today I acknowledge myself for. Now, I want to preface this by saying acknowledgements are not about how well you did something. Okay. It's not like, it was amazing, and therefore I can acknowledge myself. No, you're going to acknowledge yourself for any movement forward. So listening to this podcast, if it's been hard for you, haven't found the time, and now you've given yourself some time to do it, great, acknowledge yourself. I always use the example of losing weight, because we can all relate to getting healthy. And, when I first started wanting to lose weight after my divorce, I took my tennis shoes out. Just taking my tennis shoes out, I acknowledged myself. Just finding out where the gym was, I acknowledge myself. Just going into the gym and checking it out and talking to somebody, I acknowledge myself. But most of us are trained in this culture to only acknowledge when it's done. I will celebrate when I have my college degree. I will celebrate when I lose my 40 pounds. I will celebrate when I get to 1 million. But in fact, you're not building your confidence then. Acknowledgements actually build your confidence. And they remind you what who you are, the truth of who you are. So I really encourage everyone. I do this every year. I do 100 acknowledgements for the past year. Now, I assign to my clients, and my coaches assign to their clients, 5 a day. If you get 1 a day, great. If you get to 3, awesome. 5 is awesome. But it really is today I acknowledge myself for. And you cannot acknowledge based on results. You can only acknowledge movement forward.
That's so good.
And if you do 100 for the last year, your mind will be blown. And it will probably take you a month to do it. All right, you're going to get up to 30 and go like, that is completely it. I can't think of one more thing. And it's like, well, you got to get to 100. You're going to get really, really good at seeing the choices you made in those silent moments that there is no celebration, but you made a choice.
And that's what adds up to be the life that you actually live now.
Yeah. And your confidence will increase. You will start trusting yourself. Trust is a byproduct of fearlessness, and most people do not trust themselves, right? So, the more you know yourself, the more you can trust yourself. And then when people say, I don't trust other people, it's like, yes, because you don't trust yourself. It has nothing to do with anybody else, right? So acknowledge yourself, acknowledge yourself, acknowledge yourself, acknowledge yourself. Today, and write it this way, today I acknowledge myself for. Write it all out. Today I acknowledge myself for, in longhand, right? For that body-mind connection, right, Jaime? For that body-mind connection.
Yes, there's science based on that. I appreciate
that.
That's
right.
I love you. Where do we find more about the Wheel of Fear, where we can find you, coaches, all that fun stuff?
Go to fearlessliving.org, and on the homepage right there is the 25 Tricks of Fear, and download that, and then take the quiz about how fear shows up for you. Ooh. Because inside the 25 Tricks of Fear is 25 ways that fear shows up. And the more that you understand and wake up to that, the more you can see it. So go ahead and download the 25 Tricks of Fear so that you can see how fear is showing up in your life, so that you can start having a relationship with it and start changing it.
I love it. We want to have a relationship with it so that way we can change it. I don't even know if I have enough time before the next interview to download that, but I'm going to go do it as soon as I possibly can, because I really want to know more from you. Thank you so, so much for coming on the show today. I'm sure everybody appreciated it, but I appreciate you and all the work that you've done for so long. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Be fearless, everyone. Thanks, Jaime, for having me on.
If you enjoy this show, I would really appreciate your wonderful words of feedback. Go leave me a review. I would love a rating, whatever you can do in the time that you've got. I would so appreciate it.